Hi, my name's Colton Hurley, and today we will be discussing racism in America. Racism has been present in our society for many years. A lot of work towards creating equality between black and white has occurred, but the battle is not yet over. Many forms of racism still occur, and the gap between races seems to be worsening currently. To end racism in America, a bridge to the gap must come.
A ton of problems between the black community and the police. I mean, there are those few that have been made, famous or whatever, but there's not as many as people make it seem, and I don't feel like it's as big of a problem as we make it out.
Changes are occurring that are contributing to a slowdown with this issue, such as the body cameras that police. Racism has morphed into a highly publicized clash of police and black Americans that we often see on news networks. The movement towards better relations is moving forward, but not nearly fast enough, so clashes still occur between the police and black community. The issue of racism in the police force comes from isolated incidents and is being addressed, but is it really working? As Abdul-Jabbar has said, quote, "Part of the problem is inbred racism within departments." And reforms within police have been occurring, but as Abdul-Jabbar has said, quote, "Police reform needs to happen much more quickly than it has been, before we see another breaking news bulletin with a black body slumped in death and a white uniformed police officer standing over him. And that requires the rest of us, private citizens and politicians alike, to put pressure on those hiding behind bureaucracies and buck passing." A Gallup poll said that whites had much more confidence in the police force than that of the black community. Quote, "Blacks had a significantly lower level of confidence, 37%, in the police as an institution than whites, 59%. According to Williams, Black Lives Matter has forced so many people to start talking about policing and racial justice at the national level, creating an education movement within the Black Lives Matter movement.
The opinion on Black Lives Matter is the fact of how are you going to contribute. There's always going to be people in every movement that whether take it to the extreme and it loses the point of the focus. I think Black Lives Matter is more of a statement to everyone saying that, we're important too and everything's supposed to be equal, but since social media and all this stuff, it makes it such a huger difference in realizing that people are taking it to a proportion that it's losing the touch of what it really means. And I think after social media and stuff, it really makes the purpose go away and then people forget it and it's just like, oh, this is just another stupid movement. People have to really realize that there's more important things to boycotting or just being violent. That's not what your purpose is about, and I think Black Lives Matter really needs to change or really try to step out of
It started out with good intentions, but now it's more about separating the two communities rather than bringing them together. It's black people now blaming white people for all of the racial divide when it's not all white people that are causing the racial divide. It's those few people, just like there's those few black people that are ruining the movement for everybody.
I honestly think that the racism comes from the environment because people are born and realize that it's wrong, and I think from your family and how you see things, it's like, oh, well, this person doesn't like this black guy, or this black guy doesn't like this white guy, so I'm not supposed to like them as well. And I think it has to do with older generations, and I think it's the fact of the environment, and everyone thinks that, oh, well, since this person looks different, it's like a big problem, and that we have to shame them and feel like we're better than everyone else. And I think it's almost in a sense of cliques, and I think it's also a reason of older generations because they're like, well, we don't like these people, so teach your kids that we don't like that either, and it goes on and on. And personally, I've been affected by racism, like when I was younger when I went to Keystone Oaks, because it was majority of, I guess, people who are more Caucasian, and there was like me and another other girl who were black, but I'm half, so people always thought that I was black, and they didn't realize that I was biracial. And I think people nowadays don't really understand that I'm not just black, I'm biracial, and I'm white and I'm black. And I think that people are so ignorant. I think that's why they're racist. And I think the fact that they ask stupid questions like, is my hair real? Or other things like, does your dad in your life, like, why does it matter when it's not your business? And I think it's very ignorant that people do that, and they don't understand the fact of, like, I don't ask questions like that all the time, and I think that's really disrespectful. And I see all the time that there still is racism in our school, and there's still cliques, and people still think that, oh, because I'm black, I can do this, or I'm white because I can do that, and I think that's so disrespectful to the world, and I think that's never going to change unless...
Like the number one reason for the racial divide in America is, communities like where you live, what place that you live in, because I feel like the stereotype is that black people live in the ghettos, they live in bad houses and bad neighborhoods, and white people live in these, beautiful neighborhoods with like beautiful houses and communities, and that's not always the case. Granted, there are those few people that live in those stereotypical like realms, but not everyone is like that, and if you keep thinking that that's the set way it goes, don't ever leave your... divide worse. It tells a lot of half stories, half truths that don't really, justify one side, which is most often the side of the black community, rather than telling the story about, what actually happened, what was right, what's the truth, what deserved to happen. And I just feel like it causes a lot of unneeded tension.
I definitely think that the community does separate itself because people purposely put themselves to be that way because they want to think that, oh, I'm more superior to another, or feel as I need to make sure that if I talk down and make myself feel like everyone's racist around me, people will pay attention to our race. Like, you can't really do that in a sense. You have to learn to be together in order to...
They help the black community in the sense that they give people who want traditionally black families to stay together so they can find people like themselves. But I feel like it also separates the black and white community in the sense that it shuts out the white community and doesn't let them, be diverse and connect with the black community.
America's current culture using a singling out approach, and as Zumsky has said, quote, singling out groups for special attention does more to foster fear, suspicion, jealousy, and cynicism than it does to promote understanding, empathy, and compassion. Change must occur to our culture to end this racial divide, and as Zumsky has said, culture isn't on a bumper sticker. It is being alive and changing how things are done and how they need to be done.
I don't see racism ending in a time of now. I think it's going to end over time if everyone learns to accept each other for who they are. Not, we're going to accept just the black community, or we're going to accept just the Asian community. It's going to be like, we have to accept everyone as a whole, and I think if we don't do that, it's never going to change. Like, until the older generations are gone, or they realize, people aren't going to realize because people are still going to pass it on, and I think eventually over time, it will slowly dissipate, but there's still going to be racism because everyone thinks that they're superior to someone else, and I think that being equal is the best way to go, because why does it matter if I can be friends with an Asian, or I can be friends with a white person, or be friends with an Indian? Like, why does it have to be such an important factor? Like, why can't it just be like, this is my friend? But the only way it's going to change is people realize that.
A way to end racism is to put ourselves in a place where we can spend time with people of other races so we can learn how to fix this issue. Fixing this issue would help everyone, not just black or white communities, as Zumsky has said.
To end racism, I would say that everyone would have to stop believing in those typical stereotypes and have to get out and more mingle with the people that are different than them and stop believing the stereotypes. Like I said, if more people understood where others were coming from, they would.
As Kelsey has said, quote, racism in America is getting worse because we are counting and dividing by race, end quote. To bring both races together, we must come together as Americans to end this racial divide.